Back to Bmack reviews, and today we are going to be reviewing Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Alright, this fucking anime, I'm gonna just say right now, is a goddamn masterpiece. Alright, this thing is peak fiction. Alright, so pretty much, later I'm gonna put up a spoiler-free version, but on this particular video, I'm just gonna be going pretty much the entire plot line and just giving my fucking analysis on it, right? So episode 1, we start with this kid, David, alright? Alright, now, David's not so well off, right? And his mom is working her absolute ass off to get him in this fancy, it's super fancy school so that he can get to the top of the corporate ladder, right? Because, just climbing the ladder is really important in, I guess, the cyberpunk universe, and pretty much, so nothing really happens in the first episode besides just character development stuff and just exposition, just generally just it's laying out the format, right? I don't know if this was episode 1 or episode 2. All right, so Gloria, who is David's mom, and David, right, they're in the car because David, right, there was an update he needed to his body, I think, because they have these chip things in their neck that they use for things, right? And he needed one for school, right? He needed to buy an update, and he didn't want to, so he has this guy, right, who gives him modifications and stuff. He went and bought some third party or back alley I guess updates because he didn't have the money to pay for the real thing. So he goes into class to learn, and he tries to use it because school is taught through I guess it's just plugged into your brain, right? His update wasn't compatible, so it just fried the system, right? So he went to the principal's office. They sent him home. He almost got expelled, right? Or no, he got suspended. No, nothing happened to him, but his mom had to pay a lot of money, right? Or has to pay a lot of money. So they're on the way home, right? And these guys, right? There was a drive-by shooting, not them, on the car next to him, right? So there's this car, and then they're in the middle, and David's fine. Gloria gets popped, absolutely rolled, R.I.P. Bozo, laid out, alright? Gonzo. And the the first aid team comes, or the ambulance, whatever. God, sorry, I got allergies. God, give me a second. Alright, so, but since, they come, but since Gloria doesn't have insurance, they just leave them there, because you everything in this world is based around money, right? So if you don't have insurance, they just don't care. So they leave them there, right? David himself takes Gloria to a hospital where she seems to be doing fine, but then, alright, so he takes her to the hospital, right? And he goes home, he goes to his mom's stuff, and he finds this thing. It's called it's a mechanical spine, right? It's called a Sandivistian. That's the actual name, but in the show they just call it the Sandy, right? So that's what I'm gonna call it, right? He finds the Sandy, and it's this really super powerful I guess tech cyberware, right? So he goes to his the doc dude, right? The same dude who sold him the chip, right, for school. And he's like, hey, put this on me, right? And Doc tries to talk him out of it. And what ends up happening is because there's this thing called cyberpsychosis, right? Which is where if you get enough like cyber like modifications, you just start going insane, right? Like you just start slaughtering people. You lose your fucking mind. And Doc is trying to explain to him like, hey, you're gonna go fucking crazy. It wasn't that blatant. He was like, because I'm trying to like remember like exactly how the conversation went. It was like Doc was trying to explain to him that, you know, maybe you shouldn't be having these like super powerful upgrades at such a young age, because David's like, I think 17, right? He doesn't care, right? He gets it installed, and David, it turns out, has a very high resistance to cyberware, right? Which means that he's like not immune to psychosis, but pretty like he's not invulnerable, right? It can still happen, but he would need like a lot of upgrades, like a ton. So, and also this it can also happen if you overuse your cyberware. So like, let's say you're fine, but you just like won't stop using your cyberware, you'll go insane. So he goes, and there's this kid who's like bullying him at school, right? The day before, I forgot to mention this, beat the shit out of him, right? This kid beat the shit out of David, right? Because he just doesn't like, right? This kid is the son of the person who owns the school, right? And yeah, he beats the shit out of David because he apparently just doesn't like poor people. So David comes into school the next day, right? Very next day, and right, they're in class, they're in their like chairs, right? They're laying back, they're just having like knowledge beamed into their head, right? He's sitting there, kicks the shit out of this fucking kid. Alright? Like, and pretty much what the Sandy allows him to do is he can like, pretty much like what the Flash can do, where or I think Quicksilver would be more accurate, right? Where he can like just, like, for him he's moving really fast, or for everyone else he's moving really fast, but for him it's just like time to slow down, right? So he whoops this kid's ass, right? And then he leaves, and and then like immediately after he leaves, he finds out that pretty much his mom was stable, and then she just very suddenly became unstable and died. So he had her cremated. Didn't grieve that much. That was always something that like I was curious about. Yeah, he never really like grieved his mother's death. Like he didn't cry or anything. Sorry, I got allergies. You gotta give me a second. Alright. If you're wondering why I'm using toilet paper as tissue paper, it's because I have really bad allergies, right? So I use like a ton of it. So, fucking tissue boxes, they're, like I go through a tissue box in like 2 days, right? This lasts me like a month, right? God, sorry. Where was I? Oh, right. So he has her cremated, goes back to his apartment. He can't enter because he didn't pay the rent, so he like just breaks in. Right, and he's just kind of there. Yeah, he's just kind of there. I forget exactly. This entire like bit is a little blurry, but he gets expelled, and he's he gets expelled, and he goes on the train, right? He takes his train every day to wherever he's going, right? And actually, it wasn't even ever explained like where he was going when he was on that train, but pretty much there's this girl, right? This girl, right? She's going around. She has this like ability where she can just like pull the chips out of people's necks, right? Just like not like physically, just like I guess like magnetically. Alright, so she's just yanking people's chips out of their necks, right? Which it doesn't do anything to them. it's all right. Different chips do different things, right? So it's not like you take the chip out and they just die, right? Right, like it doesn't do anything to them like physically, right? So he's taking them, right? Or she's taking them, so she can sell them, right? And she comes around to David, right? And she's about to like grab it, right? Or she does grab it, and David, since he has the Sandy, right, like he can just like pretty much like stop time. He just turns her like while the chip is midair, or no, sorry, it landed in her hand, right, and then David just reached up and grabbed her wrist, and then they just look at each other for a bit, right, and the girl, right, the girl's name is Lucy, right, she's important. She's like, hey, come with me, right? They go to like this like isolated part of the train, right? And I forget exactly how the conversation goes. Pretty much, I forget exactly how the conversation goes, but pretty much it ends up with, so Rebecca, or not Rebecca, sorry, Rebecca's a different character, she'll come in later. Lucy finds out that David is, goes to this, like, this big, or on his file, it still says he's in school, but he is expelled, right? So she's, like, pressing him against the wall, right? Just going through, like, everything she knows about him, right? Because she's a net runner, which I'll explain later, right? So she's, like, just learning everything about him. And, pretty much, she proposes that they work together, and David's like, sure, right? So pretty much, Lucy will just stand at or all right, later in the episode, or like pretty much immediately after, it cuts to like a montage of them just like robbing people. So Lucy will like pull the chips out of their neck, and David using his like Sandy, he'll just like stop time and just run around and like grab them at midair, right? And pretty much after this is all done, right, it's nighttime, they go back to her apartment, right, they're like talking, right, they're just talking about like life and stuff, they're drinking, right, and there's this thing called BD, it's never, I don't know what it stands for, but pretty much it's like a projection, right, it's like VR, but like actually, so they're on her bed, right, both of them, and they're being and they're in the BD, which pretty much it just mentally, I guess, yeah, it just mentally teleports them to the moon, right? So they're on the moon, right? They're like chilling out, and like it's getting like romantic and everything, and then David wakes up from the BD, so he's like out of the dream, right? So he's laying in her bed, and on top of him, there's these like three like massive what's it called? Like cyberpunks, right? Like all the like all the upgrades, right? They don't have a Sandy, but they do have like a ton of upgrades. And he gets punched in the face. Lucy doesn't care, by the way. She's just sitting there smoking the entire time, right? Like she doesn't care. David wakes up and he's being like held upside down by the leg, right? Like by this big dude. The big dude's name is Maine. He'll be important later. It's spelled Maine like the state Maine, right? Like just Maine, E at the end, But anyways, they're talking for a bit. He finds out, or David finds out, that the reason Maine is like after him is because he has his Sandy, right? Like that like spine, like that mechanical like spine thing he has, that pretty much fucking Gloria, who was, David's mom, was going to sell it to him. Never explained how she got it, just that she was going to sell it to him. But she died. So it was just left with David, right? So he just took it, right? And so they talk about it. Main's actually like understanding. He's like, oh, okay, I see. Puts him down, right? They like talk for a bit. And it ends up with, because there's like this whole gang, right? There's Doria, It's something like that. It's just like huge, like pretty much just like gigantic, like ripped woman, right? She has like all this like cyberware, right? She's ripped. Same thing with Maine, right? Gigantic dude, all right. And there's Kiwi, who's also a net runner. She's like slim, you know. And who else? Who else? There's Pillar. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Pilar, right? So I don't know if that would be Pillar or Pilar. I don't know what it would be. Right, and he has like really long arms, right? And that's it, right? He just has long like arms. And then obviously there's Lucy. And they're talking about it, and pretty much it ends up with David agrees that pretty much he'll try and pay back like the Sandy because it's main Sandy, right? It's like it doesn't actually belong to him. So pretty much he agrees to like join their gang, right? To like prove himself, right? So they go on this job. It goes they have to steal like the like tracking footage from this like, or not the footage, like the tracking data from this like limo, right? And they succeed, but not like sneakily. Like it was supposed to be sneaky, but they ended up getting caught and they had to like be like really loud and everything, and there was a highway chase. All right. And they finish, and some part of this I can't remember. Some parts of the story just from memory. Pretty much, Maine's like, okay, you proved yourself, right? Like you're part of the gang. After this, I'm trying. This entire episode is like really blurry for me. This is like episode 3, 4-ish. 3. No, this is 4. Yeah, 100%. No, this is 3. This is 3. I'm tripping. All right. So, I'm trying to remember exactly what happens after this. I can't quite remember. It's yeah, I'm here in a second. It's say go to steal it. Right. It just goes to like pretty much back and forth footage where it's just Maine and David, right? So just like Maine is like gigantic, right? He's huge, and then David's just this like little like scrawny kid, right? And they're just like talking, right? And it keeps coming back and forth between them, just like talking about life. Like Maine's like really cool, by the way. Like Maine is like an awesome character. I love him. And they're just talking, right? And it keeps coming back and forth between this, and I think it was a montage of Lucy and David stealing more chips, but I'm probably getting that wrong. I think it might have been something else, but it's not plot important, right? They're just talking, right? Like filler, I guess, or character development. And Maine's talking to him like a dad, right? Maine is like, you know, like Maine is like his mentor, pretty much, right? And Maine gives David a gun because pretty much all David has is his like Sandy, right? Which is cool and all, but you still need more like upgrades because he has a Sandy, but the rest of him is just organic. So he's moving really fast and just hitting stuff with his like bare knuckles, which obviously is like damaging him because he's hitting it like really hard. So he gives him a gun, and then after this, I'm trying. The first couple of episodes are blurry to me, right? Like I can't quite remember. It's not anything like super important, so I'll just skip to like the next point in the story that I know of, all right? Because I know for a fact that nothing important happens here. It's just character like development, right? Lucy pretty much. All right, yeah. Lucy and David go steal more stuff, right? They're at her apartment, right? And David. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, all right. Lucy is out on this like pier, right? And sorry, I keep getting it wrong. I'm sorry. Earlier in the day, right? Lucy called David to tell him to meet up with her like late at night, right? So David goes and meets up with her, right? Like they're like at like the pier, right? And pretty much, she just tells him to keep up, right? And they're, like, jogging, right? He manages to keep up, and they're, like, talking at this point, right? Like, there's a lot of, I forget exactly. They're talking about, like, stamina and how it's important to have stamina as, like, a, cyberpunk. So, God, this entire part of the story is super boring for me. I'm sorry. So, yeah, they go, right? They're like running, right? They're talking, and after this, it cuts to a montage of David just working like out and stuff, and then he also gets like mechanical lungs, right? Or like I guess cyber lungs, and which allows him to like just go like really fast. It's not like the like Sandy, but it's just kind of there for like plot, like you don't ever actually see him like use them because it's lungs, right? But after this, it cuts back to him running. This is a different day, right? They're running late at night on a different day. They go back to her house. She's about to walk inside, right? And David's like outside, just like, cause he walked her to her house. And David pretty much says to her like, "Hey, I want to talk." And she says, "Come with me." Right? They go to like, I think it's like the top of like like an arch on like a, I don't know where they go. Right? They're just on like the top of this like thing. It's not, the thing isn't important, right? But they're on top of this thing in the middle of the city. It's not a building. I don't know what it is, but they're there, right? They're talking about life and stuff, and they're talking about what happened like during the like BD, like when they went to, like the moon and stuff, or mentally went to the moon. And during this, like during like the original like time they went to the moon or whatever, Lucy told David that pretty much she was the only person that she ever showed that to, the like BD like projection thing. And they're talking about it, right? And they're talking about how she wants to go to the moon, right? Blah, 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 blah. And David's like, "Hey, I can take you there." And then, because the, like, shot is focused on David, so it pretty much it's a shot of David, and he just looks like this, right? He's, like, looking at her, just like this. And you just see from out of frame, she just fucking, like, comes up and kisses, like, they just start making out, right? That's the end of the episode. Next episode comes, and it's Maine and David, right? They're back at like that spot, right? Like they're outside this auto shop, right? They have these like two like lawn chairs and this like table and the whole umbrella, right? And Maine's like, "So, you get laid? Huh? Huh?" And he just keeps fucking asking him until he just like fucking like pretty much just tells him he has a horrible poker face. And it then goes because Kiwi walks in, so they start talking about a job, right? They have to take out this dude Tanaka, I think his name is, right? I forget the exact details. No, they have to find this one dude because all right, Tanaka owns like I'm just gonna say Osaka. I know I'm wrong, but because the name of the school David went to is like Asuka, something like that. Whatever. I'm just gonna call it Asuka, right? So, sorry, there's something in my mouth. All right, so he went to school, and this school is like owned by like a mega corporation, right? And the owner of it, all right, they have a job, right? Someone gave them this job, right? They have to find and kill this dude, like the dude who owns it. But first, they have to find someone else. They have to find this dude, right, who makes fucking like porn. Not normal porn, like this is like fucked up, like really fucked up shit, like snuff, right? And they have to find him because Tanaka like buys, alright, there's these things called death scrolls, which is like a replay of someone's death. Alright. And Tanaka is like buying these up, right? Because that's, I guess, this thing. And he's buying them from this dude whose name I forget. But pretty much he just collects like the like death scrolls off these like people's like bodies after they're dead. Right? And what ends up happening is they find the dude, he knocks out David. Alright, Main and David go to assault the dude. He has like an EMP, right? That's like, I guess, one of his cyber wares. He has an EMP, right? So he just presses this button, right? Knocks both of them out. And he takes David, right? And because David knows about him. Like David knows, like, because funnily enough, fucking David is like into the stuff that he makes. So he knows about him, right? So the guy takes David, right? He puts him in this chair, right? And he is just forcing him to like watch a death scroll after death scroll, right? So David's like losing his mind, right? Just very slowly. The gang comes in, right? They like, freeze, whatever. There's like these armed drones. David manages to take them out, and then the guy agrees to like help them take out the like big dude, Tanaka. So Tanaka goes to meet up with the dude who, like, the porn dude, right? They're about to exchange like like the stuff, and fucking like the gang appears, right, from all sides, right? Like behind Tanaka, from behind the guy who makes the porn, right, behind both of them. And pretty much they're pointing the guns at Tanaka. What happens is fucking Tanaka has like a shit ton of upgrades as well. He doesn't look like huge like Main does, but he's like he looks like me, but he's just kitted out, right? Not facially, I mean just in terms of like build, right? Just a dude in a suit. Right. So he's kicking the shit out of Main, right? David comes behind him with his Sandy and just punches him really hard, which like staggers him, and then Main just fucking like obliterates him. He's not dead, but he's pretty worse for wear. And during this, the guy who makes all the porn accidentally got hit, so he's dead, right? The dude's dead. So they take Tanaka. They're diving into his, alright, they're doing this thing called deep diving, right? Or Lucy's doing it, where pretty much she has to go in this, like, ice bath, right? She has to, like, plug in this thing to the back of her head, and she can, like, access, like, someone's, like, files, right? Like, everything about them. And she's doing this, right? Because they need data from him. But the guy has to be knocked out for it, right? So this dude, he's knocked out naked in this chair, right? And he wakes up, but he starts, like, just, like, stalling David, right? Because David was supposed, like, he was told by Main, pretty much just knock this dude the fuck out, right? But the dude just keeps, like, talking, right? So Lucy's getting pulled out of her deep dive because, he's awake, right? She can't continue. I completely forgot to mention this, sorry. Main comes in with the, like, Delora, I forget her name, whatever, the big one, right? Main comes in with him, or with her, and I feel like it's important to mention, Main, at this point, he's slowly been going cyber psycho. So, like, very slowly, he's been losing his edge, right? And especially right now, he's, like, super aggressive to everybody, even David, alright? So, he, pretty much, he comes in, he sees what's going on, he takes, like, the tranquilizer from David, stabs Tanaka, right, so he's asleep. But, alright, Lucy then gets what she needs from her deep dive, right, so she, God, this is very hard to explain, because it's very in-depth. I mean, I was confused when I was watching it, alright, so if you're watching this probably doesn't make, like, any sense to you, but, alright, she pulls out, it ends up alerting the, I guess the, like, I think it's called the evac team, they're like the ambulances, right, they come automatically when they see someone, or when someone's, like, chip like turns off because they have a chip that pretty much just signals whenever they're like having an emergency, right? So they pull out. Tanaka is fucking like flatlining, right? So, and he has like premium insurance, right? So they are coming like straight for him, right? Just to like take him to the hospital. So they're like, they're packing up to leave. Not Maine. David and Lucy managed to get to a car. Delora, I forgot her name, right? Her and Maine are there, right? They're fighting off the like the cops, the like first aid, like first responders, right? Everybody, and fucking the Delora, whatever her name is, she gets shot, right? She's dead. She's gone. And Maine goes cyber psycho, right? He's like just killing everybody, right? And David, like, all right, so Lucy is trying to convince. They're in the car, right? Lucy is trying to convince David to just leave them behind. They're already dead. Just go, all right. And David doesn't listen, right? He takes his Sandy. He speeds up the stairs to go help Maine and everybody. He walks into his doorway. Maine shoots like right above his head, and he's like, "Oh, hey," and they're just like talking about everything, right? And David is trying so hard to convince Maine to like help, to like let him help him, and Maine pretty much tells him like, "No, you can't do this. This is the end of the line for me. Like save yourself." And Max Tack is coming, which is pretty much Max Tack is this team that deals with cyber psychos, right? They're very overpowered, right? It's pretty much an instant kill for anybody who gets hit by them. So Maine uses his Sandy, gets out of there, right? And then Maine gets smoked by Max Tack, right? So it's Lucy and David, and Kiwi is not there. Or Kiwi was never there to begin with, right? So they leave. And then after this, there was... Oh, right. After this, the next episode, it's pretty much... I'm pretty sure it's a time skip. I'm pretty sure. Alright. David manages to get his hands on Maine's, hands. So, he's, really strong now, right? And because Maine had, bionic, cyber hands, right? So he gets on, right? Christ. Alright, he gets some. It's pretty much just entirely I'm pretty sure this is a time skip. It's him, alright, David's it's him training a rookie, right? It's this dude named Jose. Alright. And, they're going about it. Jose is just super he's just average fanboy, right? He's a fan of David, right? Because he's seen what he's done. And he's going on a mission with him, right? He has this big gun. He's not super overpowered, but David gave him this giant gun, right? And they're going on this mission with Rebecca, who I forgot to mention before now, because she isn't super plot important. She's only really important later. She's a member of the gang, right? She doesn't specialize in anything. She's Maine. She just punches shit. Actually, I'm sorry. She has guns, and she punches shit, right? Big hands, right? Giant, giant robot hands. But she herself is tiny, right? There was a whole thing with this, I remember, because the people who made Cyberpunk, the video game, they were working with what's it called? It was Trigger Animations, something like that. Yeah, Trigger. And they're talking to him, or they're trying to they're talking about how to make the anime, right? And the people who made Cyberpunk 2077, right? They're so Trigger had this idea for a fucking Lolly character, right? Not an actual Lolly. She's 18, but she just looks small. And the people who made Cyberpunk 2077 were no, you can't do that. And then Trigger just responded with, the Lolly must stay. And so it did. That was the official response from Trigger, by the way. That is even something I made up. Someone from Trigger said that. Rebecca's just a little fucking alright. it's not important until later, right? She's not like super important. She's a cool character, but she's not like plot important until later, right? Where was I? Where was I? It's where? Oh, right, yeah. So Rebecca and David are out on this mission, right? David's like ripped now. He has like all these enhancements, right? This dude's like chromed up, right? And they're going on this mission, right? Just to like teach Jose the ropes. Jose walks through a like tripwire, immediately explodes, right? Disintegrated. And that was about it. And it cuts to David at home. He has this massive house now because he owns the gang now. The like Maine's gang, he owns it now, right? Because Maine died, so he took the lead, and pretty much, it's him at his big house with Lucy, right? Because I guess like they're together, right? They're talking about like life and stuff. David is clearly like a little out of it because of his just how much like chromeware he has. Or sorry, not chromeware, cyberware he has. Like not like super out of it, but you can like it's shown like he's like twitching, right? Like he's or tremoring, I think would be a better word, right? And I'm trying to remember. And oh yeah, it's important to mention Lucy is not she's like in the gang, but she doesn't like actually do anything anymore because she's like like she's done with it, right? Like she doesn't want to do like that kind of stuff anymore. But David's still in it, right? So David, I'm probably getting this wrong because this entire video is from memory, right? I'm sure if you went and watched the anime, there would be discrepancies between it and what I've said. So, what was I gonna say? So fucking, what is it? All right, so David goes out on this mission, right? He has to like kill this like dude, and basic gig, right? He goes, he shoots the dude, right? He's not a strong dude. He's just an average like dude, right? He works for his company, and this woman, right, walks in on him doing it, and she looks horrified, right? And David pulls a gun on her, right? And he looks terrified, right? And he fucking pops her, right? He's dead. And while he's walking out, he sees on the counter or on like the table that there's a picture of her with her son, right? So he starts like this is where he starts kind of losing it a little, all right? So he starts getting like guilty and everything. He starts getting like very cold. He had a conversation with Lucy where he was just very obviously like just fucking like out of it, right? He was talking about like how they should just like split up, never fucking see each other again, right? Or he just suggested it. He was like, maybe we should part ways, right? And Lucy gets this like ping, right? Because she's a net runner, right? So she gets this like ping, right? She sees it's this dude, it's these guys who are trying to like track her down, right? And pretty much she gets this like ping, which like lets her know that they're coming for her. So she pretty much just quickly says to David, like, hey, gotta go home. I gotta go. We'll talk when we get home. So she leaves. She goes to, like, find the guy, right? Because he's not, like, actually, like, he's, like, digging into her, like, chips, right? Like, through, deep diving. He, like, his physical body, he's just laying in a chair, right? So he's just there. He has his wires in his head, and he's just, like, deep diving, right? And, she goes to like kill him, right? Because she has these like this like wire she can just like summon, and she goes to strangle him, and he just fucking like knocks her fuck out, right? And they wake up, and the dude who has been giving these jobs to like David, Fayday, it turns out he kidnapped Lucy because he double crossed them, right? Because he needs leverage with Militech, which is this. All right. I've left out a big piece here. I'm sorry. There's these two companies, Arsica, whatever it is, that school thing I was talking about earlier, and Militech, and both of them are like at war, right? These huge like mega corporations, and they're like going at it, right? And Fayday was hired to Militech, but then which is why he was hiring David. But then since Asuka, whoever it is, the other place, right? They pretty much tell him they'll pay him more, they'll give him more benefits, and that's it. So he goes and works for them, which means that now, since David and everybody is still doing work for Militech, he has to go and pretty much just pretty much use them as leverage, right? So he kidnaps Lucy and David gets this job. It's a setup, right? It's Rebecca Falco, who's really cool. He's not super plot important, but he's just cool, right? He has this mustache, right? If you've ever watched One Punch Man, it's Springo Mustachio, that dude, right? He has that. He has the middle part hair. He has this robot hand, right? He's cool, and he's our driver, right? So it's him, Becca, and David, and they're on this job, right? They gotta take down an Asuka convoy because there's something important inside. They manage to take it out, right? But the truck, right, this truck at the front, which is what the important thing that you're trying to get is in. Fayday never told them what they're trying to get because that's confidential. He just said, get this truck, right? So they go, all right, they're trying to get this truck, and they get it, right? It's hanging off the edge of the cliff with the back, right? So this would be the front, this would be the back, and then here's the cliff, right? And it's just hanging there. So, but then it's gigantic Militech convoy, right? Because it's a setup, dozens of trucks, missile carriers, everything, right? They just start going at them, right? Everything from all sides. So they're hunkered down in the truck, right? And Kiwi's with them. I forgot about that. And Kiwi, Alright, so Kiwi was hired by Fayday after this to pretty much double cross them, right? So she hacks the truck open so that they can get inside and take cover. They get inside, and inside there's a cyber skeleton, which is this huge thing, and they're trying to get it on, or Militech is trying to get it on David, because David is very resistant to cyberware, so they're trying to experiment with it, right? Because it's not out yet. It's experimental, but they're trying to test it on David because not Militech, Asuka, whoever the other place is they're the ones who developed it, alright? And they're trying to get on David so that they can test it. And so Lucy calls David. It's not actually her, it's fucking Fayday making her talk. And pretty much she says, put on the cyber skeleton, you gotta do it now, alright? So she goes, she fucking puts it on. Or, sorry, David goes, he puts it on, right? And it's gigantic. This isn't a tiny thing, this is a whole suit, right? This is the Hulkbuster suit. And he's in it, right? And he's about to go cyber psycho, right? But Becca stabs him with this medicine, right, that he has, which pretty much, it's immunosuppressants, which they pretty much use to, get the human body to, I guess, accept the cyberware, so that you don't go insane. But it, once you start just getting enough, it starts wearing out, right? So he has the strongest possible dosage, right? And he has, 9 of them, right? Becca uses 1, right? So he's fine, right? He's in the suit. This gigantic suit has, gravity powers, right? Literally Sigma, right? He can, really just crush people into the ground. Lift up trucks, whatever, right? And Lucy calls him again, and is hey, because she managed to get free, but she's still, in the, she was in a car with Fayday, right? And Fayday, had her, handcuffed to these 2 guys. And she killed both of them. And she's there with just Fayday. So she immediately, calls him before Fayday just, beats the shit out of her. And, Lucy says, hey, don't put on the cyber skeleton, but it's too late, right? It's on David. So, Fayday, while on the call with David, Fayday takes the phone, puts on a video call, and just shows, him, just fucking, with her foot on just Lucy's, fucking head, right? With a gun to her, with a gun to her, pretty much, right? And he's, pretty much, like blackmailing him. So like, hey, do this because he's working for Asuka, the like or whatever the company is that wants David to use the cyber skeleton. Right, so you're pretty much blackmailing him, saying like, hey, do this, do this, do this, and we'll get like Lucy back. So instead of doing that, he hangs up, kills, because there's that huge Militech convoy, kills everybody, right? And they have like Becca, Falco, everybody. They have this like car that they use, right? They get in the car. They find out that Kiwi betrayed them, so she's just like off somewhere. And they're going straight to Asuka Tower or wherever the place is called, right? They're going to like the main tower of that like company, right, to go kill Fayday and get Lucy back, right? So they're going. David is losing his mind because the cyber skeleton, like he's going like cyber psycho. So Becca like has to keep like stagnant, like injecting him with this medicine just to keep him like sane, right? And they eventually get to the tower, right? They kill Fayday, but Adam Smasher, who if you've played like the actual Cyberpunk, you'll know. In the actual Cyberpunk, he's like super strong, but he's not like immortal. In this like Cyberpunk universe, he's like the end all be all of like cyberware, right? Like he has everything. Even his brain is cybernetic, right? So he's there, right? And he's going at it with David, right? Because whatever the company is, right? I can't be bothered, right? Whatever the company is, they pretty much hired him to go kill David, right? Because David was just getting out of control, right? Because they didn't actually expect him to be able to use the cyber skeleton. So now that they know he can use it, they want to like dispose of him. So, and also because they're, he's like in their tower just like killing everyone. So, Adam and David are going at it. Adam is being his ass, right? And during this fight, Rebecca gets fucking curb stomped by Adam, right? Dead on the ground, brains fucking everywhere, right? And then Adam hits Falco, but he doesn't die, right? He loses his arm, but he's not dead. And they're all behind cover, right? Adam's coming, and David tells Falco that he needs a favor, and then it cuts to a different shot, right? So it's David running out of cover to go like beat the shit out of Adam, right? Because like he's full on cyber psycho, right? Like he's losing it, and right, he's getting his ass whooped, right? Like Adam is fucking cutting him to bits, and Falco, because alright, Lucy and Falco were in the car, right? They're just watching it, and Falco just fucking like slams the gas to get out of there, and it cuts back to a shot of David, who pretty much he's on the ground, right? Like he's like his suit is gone, right? And the cyber skeleton like replaced his arms and legs, so it's just his torso and his head, right? And he's just like sitting there. Him and Adam are talking. Adam said like, "Hey, I had fun for once," and David said something, right? And Adam said, "You would make a pretty good construct," and he said, and David said, "Like I give a shit." And Adam just puts the gun to his fucking head and pulls the trigger. David's dead, right? David's gone, right? I never cry, right? It doesn't sound super like emotional because it's me explaining it, right? You're not gonna get that like I guess character development. I don't cry, right? I never cry. I didn't even cry at my uncle's funeral. I fucking was like bawling. Alright, I was so fucking like distraught. And then it cuts to this shot of Lucy and Falco in the car. And and Lucy is pretty much yelling at Falco to like turn around, we gotta get David. Alright. And Falco said no. And then Falco reveals that pretty much David, like, when he asked for that favor, it was him saying, just get Lucy out of here, right? Like, tell her to just go, right? So, You remember how earlier Lucy was telling David about how it was his dream or her dream to go to the moon? This made me so sad. Like I haven't cried this hard in a long time. It cuts to a shot of her like alone on the moon, right? Because in this universe like there's rockets that go to the moon, right? And you can like just go there and take like a tour. She goes, right? And it's just her. She's like alone on this train, right? And she's out just walking on the moon, and it's this because earlier when they were in the BD, like the thing that was like I guess mentally putting them on the moon, David said, "I can feel the fucking sun," right? Not like angrily. He was like, "Hey, I can feel the fucking sun," like that, right? And it's him, just like young him, right? Because there was a time skip. Obviously, it was like a teenage him, right? And David's just like, "Hey, I can feel the fucking sun," and then he just disappears. And it's just Rebecca staring at the fucking sun, and it was so sad. It was so sad, dude. And then the show ends. Obviously, I got some stuff wrong there because, I'm human. I probably forgot a lot of stuff, like very important stuff throughout all of this, like the 50 minutes I've been explaining this. This show is my favorite anime. My absolute favorite, right? I don't know whether, all right, this show, it's just a masterclass, right? This is a masterclass of anime, I'm telling you. And I don't know whether to give it points or subtract points for this. The show was actually so fucking good that I would get like anxiety. But I would really need to like take breaks from watching because it was just like so like high stakes all the time, and I'd just be sitting there with my fucking like hands just like this, just like breathing, like dude, this show is crazy. All right, if you're watching this, you've probably already watched it because this entire thing is a spoiler. So either you're never gonna watch it because alright, so either you're never going to watch it and you just want to hear me like explain it, or you already watch it and you want to hear my opinion of it. Either one, I recommend you go watch it. Alright, if you already watched it, go watch it again. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. Please. Because what I am saying does not do the show justice. It is such a good show. Alright, like an absolute masterpiece. And easy 10 on the Bmack fucking scale, right? Like this show solos. This is my favorite. Like this is my favorite like anime so far, right? I've only watched a couple, but this is my favorite one so far, easily. This show is a masterpiece. Every single anime in the world should aspire to be like this. And it's just, I've never, literally, I don't cry, right? I never cry. I sobbed at that ending, dude. Like, I was fucking, like face in the pillow, just, like, crying. It was so sad. It was so sad. But, yeah, that's all I really want to say. I hope you enjoyed watching me do a really horrible recap of the show for an hour. Yeah, it's about it. It's an amazing show. I can't say that enough. It's an amazing show. It's a trigger. I completely forgot to mention the animation on this is crazy. It's not like One Punch Man good, but it's really good. Like it's solid. Like S minus tier. Like I'm not gonna say S plus because S plus is One Punch Man. It's like S minus tier animation. And yeah, just Trigger knocked it out of the park with this one. Project Red, the Cyberpunk team, everybody, they did such a good job on this. I heavily fucking encourage you go watch this. But that's all I want to say. Easy 10 on the Bmack scale. It's not a debate. Later.